Picture this. It's late at night, and you know you should close your eyes and rest. Yet one more video, one more scroll, pulls you deeper into the screen where you reach for that extra piece of cake, even though your body doesn't need it, and minutes later a wave of guilt and emptiness washes over you. You swear to yourself that tomorrow will be different, that you'll finally take control, but the urge returns stronger than before. That quiet, gnawing frustration builds inside. The fear that you're not truly free, that these small cravings are slowly taking over your days. If you're ready to reclaim your freedom and live with real inner strength, hit that like button right now, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the timeless wisdom that can transform your life. Number 1. Understanding urges as the chains of slavery. In the rush of everyday life, urges appear like sudden storms that catch us off guard, cravings for food, pleasure, anger, or endless distraction. We often dismiss them as harmless, just part of being human, but each time we surrender without thought, we give away a piece of our freedom. The Stoics understood this truth deeply. Real slavery is not physical chains around the body, but invisible chains around the mind. These chains are forged slowly, link by link, every time we obey an impulse instead of reason. Epictetus, who was born a slave, reminded us that no one can truly enslave your will unless you hand it over yourself. True freedom begins the moment you see an urge for what it really is, a passing impression, not a command you must follow. Epictetus taught that freedom is not found in satisfying every desire, but in learning to remove the ones that are unnecessary. When an urge rises, pause and ask yourself a simple question. Does this lead me toward virtue, or does it pull me away? Most urges promise instant relief or pleasure, yet they almost always deliver regret and weakness in the long run. By giving in repeatedly, we turn ourselves into servants of fleeting feelings instead of masters of our own lives. The Stoics saw clearly that these small daily surrenders add up, creating a life ruled by impulse rather than choice. Recognizing this pattern is the first step toward breaking the cycle and reclaiming your inner sovereignty. Our modern world is built to amplify urges. Constant advertisements, notifications, and instant gratification are designed to hook us. Yet the Stoics lived in their own world of temptations, from lavish feasts to political power, and still chose inner rule over outer chaos. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal that urges are merely impressions on the mind, not orders we must obey. By learning to pause and examine them, we strip away their automatic power over us. This practice of observation turns a reactive mind into a reflective one, creating space between impulse and action. In that space lies freedom, the power to choose what is truly good for you. Deep down, the reason we give in to urges is fear. Fear of discomfort, fear of missing out, fear of boredom or loneliness. The Stoics knew that discomfort is always temporary, while the regret of weakness can haunt us for years. True strength is born in the moment we choose to endure the short tension of resistance instead of seeking quick relief. Every time you say no to an urge, you prove to yourself that you are the master, not the slave. This small victory builds confidence and quiet power that spills into every area of life. Over time, the fear that once drove your cravings begins to fade, replaced by calm self-trust. Seneca compared unchecked desires to a fire that grows larger the more fuel you give it. One small indulgence leads to the next craving, and soon your days are spent chasing highs that never truly satisfy. The timeless Stoic truth is simple. Lasting peace comes from wanting less, not from getting more. When you reduce what you desire, you reduce the power that urges have over you. This is not deprivation. It is liberation from the endless cycle of wanting and never being content. By choosing simplicity, you open the door to a deeper, more stable happiness. Every urge is a test of your freedom, an opportunity to practice self-mastery. The Stoic path invites you to rise above animal instincts and use reason as your steady guide. In this understanding, you begin to loosen the chains that have held you for so long. Step by step, day by day, you reclaim the control that always belonged to you. The journey is not about perfection, but about consistent progress toward a life of calm and purpose. Start today. See each urge as a chance to prove you are free. Number 2, the Stoic dichotomy of control. Focus on what's yours. At the very heart of Stoicism lies a simple but powerful division. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. Epictetus began his teachings with this idea. Opinions, impulses, desires, and aversions are within our power. Everything else, other people's actions, outcomes, health, wealth, reputation, is outside our control. When we desire or fear things we cannot control, we hand over our peace to chance. The Stoics taught that true freedom comes from focusing only on what is truly yours. This single principle can dissolve the slavery of urges almost instantly. Urges themselves arise naturally. We cannot prevent them from appearing in the mind. What we can control is our judgment about them and our response to them. The Stoics did not fight the feeling directly. Instead, they shifted attention to their own power of choice. Ask yourself, is this urge helpful? Does acting on it align with my deepest values? By directing your energy toward what is up to you, you take back control in the moment. This simple shift turns a moment of weakness into an opportunity for strength. Most suffering comes from desiring things outside our control. Perfect pleasure, constant approval, endless comfort. Epictetus said that if you desire what is not up to you, you will always be disappointed. When you stop chasing these externals, the urges that drive you lose their fuel. You no longer need to grasp at every passing pleasure because you know they cannot bring lasting peace. This is not resignation. It is wisdom, the wisdom that protects your tranquility. Peace arrives naturally when desires are limited to what reason approves. Here is a practical way to apply this every day. When an urge arises, pause and name it clearly. Then ask, what part of this is truly mine to decide? Only your choice to act or refrain. Everything else, the outcome, the feeling, the future, fades in importance. By focusing only on your judgment, you remove the emotional charge from the urge. The impulse becomes just a passing cloud, not a storm that must be obeyed. This practice, repeated daily, rewires your mind for freedom. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to curb desires and set his heart only on what reason approves. He understood that by desiring only good judgments and virtuous actions, you guarantee success. These are always within your reach, no matter what happens externally. Unlike fleeting pleasures, virtue cannot be taken away from you. This focus on what is truly yours creates an unbreakable inner fortress. Urges lose their power when they face a mind that desires only the good. The dichotomy of control frees you from the slavery of endless wanting and fear. Urges become mere impressions, not rulers of your life. Practice this principle every day and watch how quickly control returns to you. The result is a deep, lasting calm that no external event can disturb. You stand firm, no longer tossed by every passing desire. This is the Stoic promise. True freedom begins and ends with what is up to you. Number 3, daily practices to train your mind against urges. The Stoics treated self-mastery like athletes treat physical strength. They train for it every day. One of the most powerful practices is voluntary discomfort, deliberately choosing small hardships. Skip a meal, take a cold shower, or walk instead of driving. These small acts build tolerance for unease. When you practice discomfort on purpose, every day urges lose their terror. You prove to yourself that you can survive without instant gratification. Over time, the mind grows stronger and the pull of urges weakens. Seneca, though wealthy, practiced poverty regularly. He slept on a hard floor and ate simple food. He did this to remind himself that he needed very little to be content. This habit weakened the power of luxury and excess over his mind. You can start small, delay gratification by just 10 minutes, or say no to one unnecessary pleasure today. Each act of voluntary denial trains your mind to value freedom over comfort. The more you practice, the easier resistance becomes. Another essential practice is premeditation of evils, anticipating the urges you will face. In the morning, imagine the temptations that might come: scrolling, snacking, anger, distraction. Decide in advance how you will respond with reason and calm. Marcus Aurelius did this every day, preparing his mind for the battles ahead. When the urge actually arrives, you are no longer surprised, you are ready. Preparation turns potential weakness into practiced strength. Evening reflection is a cornerstone of Stoic training. At the end of each day, ask yourself, where did I give in today? Where did I hold firm? What can I do better tomorrow? Seneca practiced this nightly, turning every mistake into a valuable lesson. This honest review builds self-awareness and strengthens resolve over time. Reflection closes the loop, making each day a step forward in mastery. Epictetus advised viewing urges from a distance, like dishes passing at a banquet. You may reach politely for what is useful, but let the rest go without grasping. This mindset transforms temptation from a compulsion into a calm choice. You observe the urge without being swept away by it. The banquet continues, but you remain in control of your plate. This perspective brings quiet power to every moment. These practices are not punishments. They are training for true freedom. Done consistently, they rewire your automatic responses and make resistance natural. The Stoic path is simple and practical. Small daily acts build unbreakable self-mastery. You do not need to be perfect, only persistent. Over weeks and months, you will notice a profound change in how you meet urges. The result is a life of calm, purpose, and inner strength. Number 4, the wisdom of moderation and natural desires. Stoicism is not against pleasure. It celebrates what is natural and necessary. Food, rest, friendship, and simple joys are good when they are in balance. The problem arises only with excess, when urges demand more than what nature requires. The Stoics taught that true contentment comes from satisfying natural desires, not artificial ones. By learning to distinguish between the two, you free yourself from endless craving. Moderation is not sacrifice. It is wisdom that protects your peace. Epictetus compared life to a banquet. Take your fair share politely, without grabbing or longing for what is not yours. Desires that go beyond nature. Endless wealth, perfect highs, constant excitement, create endless unrest. When you limit yourself to what is truly needed, the mind finds quiet satisfaction. Excess always brings new cravings. Simplicity brings lasting calm. The Stoics lived this truth and proved it works in every age. Moderation is the key to a life without inner conflict. Seneca observed that no one is ever satisfied with what they attain. Getting what you crave only breeds the next craving, creating a never-ending cycle. True fulfillment comes from limiting desires to what is simple and already available. When you stop chasing more, you discover that you already have enough. This shift in perspective quiets the restless mind and brings deep gratitude. Contentment is not found in having more. It is found in wanting less. Practice daily contentment. Each morning, list 3 things you have that once you craved. Health, a warm meal, a kind word from a friend. These are gifts that once seemed distant. This simple habit shifts your focus from lack to abundance. When you see what you already possess, restless urges lose their power. Gratitude becomes a shield against craving. Over time, your mind naturally seeks less and enjoys more. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that all pleasures are fleeting and often followed by pain. Reason shows that moderation brings steady, reliable joy, while excess brings chains. By choosing the middle path, you protect your health, your relationships, and your peace. The Stoics knew that true happiness is quiet, not loud and flashy. Moderation allows you to savor life without being consumed by it. This balance is the foundation of lasting well-being. Embrace natural desires with mindfulness and reject artificial ones with firmness. This Stoic moderation frees your energy for what truly matters: virtue, growth, and meaningful connections. You no longer waste your days chasing shadows of pleasure. Instead, you live with clarity, purpose, and deep satisfaction. The reward is a life that feels complete, even in simplicity. This is the timeless wisdom of moderation. Less craving, more freedom. Number 5. Living free, the reward of mastering urges. Imagine waking each morning without regret, acting from clear choice instead of compulsion. This is the Stoic promise, a life of inner freedom where no urge can disturb your peace. You move through the day with calm confidence, knowing you are the master of your responses. The chains that once held you have fallen away, replaced by quiet strength. This freedom is not an accident. It is the natural result of consistent practice. The reward is worth every moment of effort. Epictetus, though physically lame and once a slave, declared himself freer than his masters. His mind was his own, untouched by external control. Mastering urges grants you the same invincible liberty, no matter your circumstances. You become untouchable in the deepest sense. Your will remains your own. This inner sovereignty is the greatest gift the Stoics offer. It is available to anyone willing to practice. In this freedom, you pursue virtue without distraction, courage, justice, wisdom, and kindness. Urges no longer derail your purpose or pull you off course. You act from reason and principle, not from impulse. Your life becomes aligned with your highest values. This clarity brings a profound sense of meaning and direction. You live not just for the moment, but for something greater. Peace follows naturally when desires are limited. Seneca taught that tranquility is the fruit of a mind that wants only what is good and possible. There is no fear of loss, no endless chase for more. The mind rests in contentment, undisturbed by cravings. This calm is deeper than any temporary high. It is the steady happiness that endures. Your strength ripples outward to others. You become a calm presence in crisis, a reliable friend, a steady guide. People notice the quiet power you carry and are inspired by it. By mastering your urges, you help others see the path to freedom. Your life becomes a living example of Stoic wisdom. This is one of the greatest rewards, being able to lift those around you. The Stoic way is not always easy, but it is simple and profoundly rewarding. Start today. Observe one urge. Choose reason over impulse, and feel the small victory. With each choice, you build the foundation of a free life. Over time, you will stand tall, no longer a slave to fleeting cravings. You will live as the Stoics lived, with calm, purpose, and unbreakable freedom. Number 6, the role of reason, your greatest weapon against impulses. The Stoics crowned reason as the highest human faculty, the divine spark that separates us from animals driven purely by instinct. When an urge strikes, it speaks in the language of emotion and immediate want, loud and demanding. Reason, however, speaks quietly and clearly, asking whether this action truly serves your good. Most people live as slaves because they let emotion override reason without a fight. The Stoics trained themselves to pause and let reason examine every impulse before granting assent. This simple act of withholding immediate agreement is the beginning of freedom. Marcus Aurelius wrote that nothing harms us except our own judgments, and judgments belong to reason alone. An urge feels powerful only because we judge it to be irresistible or necessary. Change the judgment. See the urge as indifferent or even harmful, and its strength vanishes. Reason reveals that no pleasure is worth trading for self-respect and inner peace. By strengthening reason through daily use, you build an unbreakable shield against compulsion. The mind becomes a calm courtroom where impulses are questioned, not obeyed. Epictetus reminded his students that impressions rush in, but we control whether we assent to them. Assent is the moment reason either approves or rejects the urge. Train yourself to delay assent, to step back and ask, what will this choice cost me tomorrow? Reason shows the hidden price. Regret, weakened will, lost time, damaged health. When reason consistently wins these small trials, the habit of obedience to impulse fades. You begin to live deliberately, guided by wisdom instead of whim. Reason also uncovers the illusions urges create, that this one indulgence won't matter, that you'll feel better afterward. It patiently reminds you of past experiences where those promises proved false. Over time, reason becomes a trusted friend whose voice grows clearer and stronger. The Stoics practice philosophy not as theory, but as daily training in rational living. Every resisted urge is a victory for reason and a step toward unshakable calm. This is how ordinary people become wise and free. Seneca wrote that reason is the ruler that should govern all desires. Without it, we are pulled in every direction by whatever feeling is strongest in the moment. With it, we steer our lives toward virtue, excellence, and lasting fulfillment. Reason does not suppress natural needs. It orders them properly and rejects the unnecessary. The disciplined mind finds joy in clarity, not in chaos. Master reason, and you master yourself. Begin today by treating every urge as an invitation to consult reason. Ask quietly, is this truly good for me? Does it align with the person I wish to be? Let reason answer honestly, then follow its guidance without hesitation. This practice, repeated patiently, transforms you from a slave of passion into a ruler of your soul. The Stoics prove that reason is enough. No external help is needed. You already possess the greatest weapon. Now learn to wield it daily. Number 7. Facing the pain of discipline versus the pain of regret. Every day, we face a choice between two kinds of pain: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The pain of discipline is sharp but brief, the discomfort of saying no to an urge in a moment. The pain of regret is dull and long-lasting, the slow erosion of self-respect after repeated surrender. Most people choose the path of least resistance now, only to pay heavily later. The Stoics chose the sharper pain up front, knowing it leads to freedom and pride. This choice defines whether you rule your life or let urges rule you. When you resist an urge, you feel temporary discomfort, boredom, restlessness, or craving. But that feeling always passes, leaving you stronger and prouder. When you give in, you feel brief relief followed by familiar shame and emptiness. Over years, these small surrenders compound into a life you don't respect. The Stoics understood that real harm comes not from discomfort, but from weakness. Choose discipline today, and tomorrow brings quiet satisfaction. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that pain endured willingly loses its terror. Voluntary discipline turns discomfort into proof of your strength. Regret, however, creeps in unchosen and poisons your view of yourself. One path builds character, the other erodes it slowly. The wise person accepts the short pain that serves growth. Freedom is purchased with moments of deliberate restraint. Think of discipline as exercise for the soul. Each resistance makes the next one easier. Regret is like debt. Small indulgences add interest that grows heavier over time. The Stoics paid in advance with effort, avoiding the crushing weight of accumulated weakness. They slept peacefully knowing they had lived according to reason. You can choose the same currency, effort now for peace later. The price of freedom has always been discipline. Seneca said it is better to conquer desire than to satisfy it endlessly. Conquest requires short pain. Endless satisfaction requires endless chasing and eventual regret. Every time you choose discipline, you deposit strength into your character. Every time you choose indulgence, you withdraw from that account. The Stoics kept their accounts full through daily deposits of self-control. A rich soul fears no urge. Face the truth. You will feel pain either way, now or later. Choose the pain that makes you stronger, prouder, freer. Let the discomfort of restraint be your teacher and your proof of growth. Regret teaches nothing except what you already knew but ignored. The Stoic way is to embrace discipline as the price of a worthy life. Pay it gladly and live without chains. Number 8. The illusion of just this once and long-term thinking. The most dangerous lie we tell ourselves is, just this once won't hurt. This small exception feels harmless in the moment, but it quietly undermines discipline. Each, just once, reinforces the neural pathway of surrender and weakens resolve. The Stoics refused exceptions because they understood how habits truly form. They thought in years and decades, not minutes and hours. Long-term thinking protects you from short-term deception. Marcus Aurelius asked himself how future Marcus would view today's choices. He imagined looking back from old age at the man he was becoming. This perspective makes the cost of indulgence painfully clear. Just this once, repeated, becomes the story of a life ruled by weakness. The Stoics chose actions they could respect when remembering them later. Think of your future self as a real person depending on you now. Seneca warned that time is our most precious resource, and indulgence steals it wastefully. Every hour lost to mindless scrolling or excess eating is gone forever. When you think in terms of your limited lifespan, small urges lose their appeal. The wise person spends time on what builds a meaningful life. Short-term pleasure rarely survives this long-view test. Protect your days as you would protect your life. Train yourself to project forward. If I give in today, how will I feel tonight? Next week? Next year? See the pattern clearly. The brief relief followed by familiar regret. Then project the opposite. If I resist today, how will that compound over months? Strength, pride, clarity, and freedom grow steadily. The Stoics lived for the compound interest of virtue. Small daily choices yield enormous returns over time. The illusion thrives because urges speak only of now, never of later. Reason speaks of consequences across time, showing the true price. When you consistently choose the long view, just this once loses its power. You begin to act as a guardian of your future happiness. The Stoics achieve serenity by aligning today's actions with tomorrow's good. This alignment is the essence of wise living. Practice long-term thinking daily. Before acting on any urge, ask about its effect 1 year from now. Most urges fail this simple test and fade away. Live as though your entire life depends on this one choice, because in a way, it does. The accumulated weight of all your choices becomes the life you actually live. The Stoics chose carefully, and so can you. Freedom belongs to those who think beyond the moment. You've journeyed through the Stoic path today, from seeing urges as the hidden chains that bind us, to wielding reason, discipline, and the dichotomy of control as your tools for freedom. The wisdom of Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and Seneca is not ancient theory. It is a practical guide that has liberated countless lives across centuries, and it can liberate yours right now. Every time you pause, question an impulse, and choose reason over reaction, You take one more step away from slavery and toward the quiet, unshakable strength the Stoics call true liberty. This is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming the master of your own mind, day by day, choice by choice. The reward waiting on the other side is profound. A life where peace does not depend on external circumstances, where regret no longer haunts your evenings, and where you move through the world with calm confidence and purpose. You wake up proud of who you are becoming, free from the endless chase of fleeting pleasures, and rich in the only wealth that cannot be taken away, your character. This freedom ripples outward, making you stronger for those you love, clearer in your goals, and unshaken by the storms that once tossed you about. The Stoic promise is simple. Master your urges, and you master your life. So start small today, notice one urge, consult reason, and choose differently. Let that single act of courage be the beginning of a chain that grows stronger with every link. You already possess everything you need. The power has always been yours. Thank you for watching this far. Apply what you've learned and watch your life transform. If this spoke to you, please hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share your own experience in the comments below. Let's walk this path together. Until next time, stay strong, stay free.